universe who doesn't have a podcast with me, Mummy Twist / Jerome Dowling.
And me, Michael Priestley / Michael Priestley.
And me, Daniel Allen. Bubble up, dot up.
Bubble up, dot up. So welcome everyone. We are back. I'm back this week. I wasn't here last week. I love you all. I just don't love Michael down. Welcome to our review this week of Dot and Bubble, which I think it's fair to say was an episode, I don't know about you two boys, but it was an episode that did not go the way I thought it was going to go. And not just because of the #twist ending, but also just the entire episode. Because I think maybe the three of us, but also a number of the community kind of saw this as the episode potentially out of the whole season that would possibly potentially have most Love and Monsters-esque energy. I think that might be fair to say. So I think it was, I kind of went in with, I don't want to say low expectations, but just expectations of who knows. I know this is to do with social media and maybe it's going to hit all the right notes or maybe it really isn't. I think I was mainly pleasantly surprised. You know what? The first thing I will genuinely start off with, and to do with this episode, but all of the episodes we've seen so far, on the whole, I think the casting's been brilliant. Like genuinely, I think the casting across the board and just in terms of like performers and the skills and the kind of emotional variety they're bringing is brilliant. I think I'm definitely going to get her name wrong and I'm going to apologize for that straight up. But it's Haley, and I can't remember her surname, but the girl who played the main kind of
The lead
in this episode, it was Pepper. Is it Pepper Bean? Her surname?
Penny Pepper Bean.
Pepper Bean. No, possibly. I might have got several things wrong already at this point. Anyway, the lead character.
I liked it when you said, it might get the name wrong. Is the name Haley? Don't know if it's seen that.
But I might have got her first
consistent.
name right. Consistency is inconsistency. But I thought she was amazing. I think she absolutely brought that whole kind of privileged, rich girl, kind of like head in the clouds vibe, really kind of, because I think, you know, I was watching the episode and there was one particular line she has about, I don't know how to walk, or I don't know how to walk forwards without being told. And I was like, I mean, we've all been actors, spoiler alert, but if you get a line like that in any script, you're kind of looking at that going, how on earth do I make this convincing? How on earth do I make this believable? How on earth do I make this work? And I just felt everything that could have gone into a realm of slight bizarreness or cheesiness, she brought this really good grounding energy to.
I mean, I enjoyed quite a lot of the social commentary in this episode, but that was a bit too much for me. It was a bit too on the nose, but she sounds it really well, I thought. I should also say, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these points, boys, because I watched this when I was at a wedding and I watched it when I went to bed and I was blind drunk. So I kind of remember the ending really, really strongly. And then the rest of the episode, it's like, yeah, from something anything stupid, just like a show. But yeah, I thought she sold that really, really well. And actually, it was a good point to put in. I'm really, it is a gimmicky episode for most of it, but I actually found it really effective how they're in that social media world. And then just to the left or the right of them, there's a big slug monster. They're seeing all their friends and they don't know because as soon as they wake up, they're just like, I don't know about you two, like as soon as I wake up, I'm just like in my phone. Yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know. I found that quite effective, to be honest. I thought I'd find it a bit too cheesy, but on reflection, I'm like, it's actually quite scary.
Quite scary. Yeah. Dan, how about you? How did you feel about that?
I thought it was kind of great because you kind of, now I've delved into the world of TikTok, you kind of find that society is kind of falling deeper and deeper into popularity and social media and online presence and kind of forgetting about the outer ring of social and cultural events that really surround them. So I thought it was very on the nose, but I feel like in Doctor Who, it can kind of allow itself to be. And you can also tell as well, maybe why Russell T Davies sat on this idea for such a long amount of time, because I couldn't have imagined Doctor Who 10 or 15 years ago being able to convey the visual effects anywhere near as well as in this episode. So I can see kind of why it's been held up to such a point, which is probably long run a very clever move because we have fallen in the current society more in that direction. So that kind of social commentary is more on the nose now than I think it ever has been.
Yeah, I think it was interesting really, because there were lots of the episode that really wasn't subtle. And I think it intentionally wasn't subtle, like especially the first kind of half, maybe 2/3 of the episode. And then we flip to the ending, which I know we will come to because it's such a big historic moment in Doctor Who. But then
Now
kind
let's skip it.
the kind of subtle, the non-subtle subtleties to the subtleties, and that kind of like role reversal. I think it was very, very good writing. But just before we come to that, I want to talk about, because I don't know if any other podcasts will talk about this yet, because I think it was easy to gloss over given everything else that went on. The slugs. Now, on paper, you go, oh my God, really? This is like proper nerd Doctor Who kind of material here. But like, because of what, as you were saying, Dan, what was going on with the kind of the bubble, the kind of the almost like the sense of entrapment without kind of even acknowledging it, to have a villain that is so slow moving and so kind of almost ineffective to the point where it was really like down to your own action that kind of resulted in you, being kind of eaten alive. I actually think they made them quite scary for a villain that in any other episode would not be scary. Like, I think you could take that villain and put it in any other episode and it would just be like, oh my God, this is just like child fodder. But I think they actually came across as really, really quite menacing, actually.
Yeah.
Especially that bit where she had to walk through the four of them.
Yes. Part of that, I think, is I've got this like little headcanon thing about them where it's like Darwinian evolution. It's like for creatures like that to survive, they have to survive under very specific circumstances. And the specific circumstances are their prey are people who are oblivious to the world around them. So like they can be as slow as they want, because these vacuous individuals aren't paying attention to the outside world at all. They're just in their little like bubble.
Yeah.
So I thought that made them really freaky. Actually, they don't have to be efficient.
No.
Yeah.
And also they were called the man traps as well, weren't they? Which I didn't learn until after the episode had finished, in fairness. But I was like, again, there's something quite, I don't know, it's just uneasy about everything to do with them. I thought it was good. Sorry, Dan, go on. You were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, because the only other interesting thing about it was when we realised later in the episode where they're going after people in alphabetical order. Because one thing, again, I don't know how many people will probably pick upon, because the ending, which we will get on to, far outweighs this certain point. But the kind of pop star personality that is almost sacrifices himself for the penny. What's his name? Ricky September?
Ricky September, yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting that it's not so much what's it called? The man traps.
Yeah.
But also the dots themselves that are capable of taking people out. And whether or not, because again, the fact that, and I just thought it was such a kind of amazing moment from her, was that she threw him well and truly under the bus.
Yeah. The most hated character in Doctor Who history.
Do you know what the funniest thing is? Because I even made a note here of actually going, oh my God, she killed him off. What a plot twist. It can't get worse than this. So imagine the shape of my mouth when that ending happened. Because I think what was subtle about, and I know if I'm jumping too far ahead, please forgive me.
Forgiven.
Don't know about you two, but I didn't realise that bit throughout the whole episode directly in the face.
Yeah, I'm really, really ashamed of myself. I'm putting it down to the fact that I was blind drunk. On a second viewing, you watch it, and obviously it's extremely obvious, but know. But I didn't actually. It was a big surprise to me.
We might as well come on to it now because we are like we're getting onto that point. But I think, I was in the same boat, and I think a lot of people were, where the moment of sort of bewilderment on Ncuti's face, where they first start kind of sort of dialoguing as a three. And it's this real sense of bewilderment and confusement. And you kind of watch it as an audience member. I know I did. And I was kind of like, there's something, and you can just feel the gears in your brain going and all of these things. And then, I had this moment of, I saw a review actually afterwards where I can't remember who he said, but at the top, they were like, the Doctor has to come to terms with the fact that they're not rejecting him because he's the Doctor. They're rejecting him because he's this Doctor.
He's different to them.
And in other Doctor Who episodes, like the question of racism had come up before, I think going back to Jodie Whittaker's episode with like the Rosa Parks incident, and there's been other episodes as well. But it's always been from the point of view of a companion or an alien race or something like that. And also, I think as well, like it really just doubles down on the fact that, this heartwarming character who, while they have like rage moments and anger moments and moments of deep passion, like their whole mantra at the heart of things is just to do right by people and to like, and who loves the human race for all their flaws, absolutely loves them. But yeah, and there's that moment, even with that realization and almost the horror, there's still that moment of, look, I don't care. I don't care. Just let me
He does
save
that
you.
so
And
well.
and also to know, I don't know if you guys know this as well. It's on Doctor Who Unleashed. It was his first scene he filmed.
Yeah.
Unreal, absolutely
Yeah.
unreal. And I think like he's been incredible. Like his performances in just 5 episodes have like, while people can have different opinions on the episodes themselves, I think loads of people are in agreement that he's just come in and just like made the character his own, and it's brilliant to see. But yeah, it was very painful to watch. And like you boys as well, I felt quite ashamed as well, because you do watch it back and go, oh, it is there from the start. But I think it you know, it's great writing. It asks us to ask these questions. Why did we not see it? Why did you choose not to see it? Or maybe you did, you know, it wasn't anything kind of arrogant or obnoxious. It's just, what is it? Do you know what I mean? Like in society and in the world of Doctor Who as well. But yeah, it was good for an episode that was so non-subtle to then go to that level of intricacy. I thought was a really, really nice change.
It was
'Cause
a
it was
huge
on,
rug pull.
yeah, it
Honestly,
was, yeah.
I think this episode will obviously go down in history and always be remembered by this final scene. I think this final scene is going to come to define Ncuti Gatwa's time as the Doctor. I think it's towards the end of his time as the Doctor. It's going to be one of those that's there in terms of people are always going back and reviewing it. Huge rug pull. So what did you guys think of it then in terms of that twist? Because I thought it was, I thought it was incredible. But the way that I thought the way that they both played it. So how Ncuti played it, I thought was just amazing. I'm glad you picked up on that line, your own way, since I don't care. He like puts through the nonsense. He goes, I don't care. Think whatever you think. Let me say to you. Murray Gold's music is on top of it. They do it so well. It's so choreographed. It's so nice. And then I thought Millie Gibson's performance around it was really good as well, because you could tell that she's, I think as an actor, extremely affected by what's going on.
Yeah.
She's got the most genuine, real reaction as somebody who is experiencing this happen to somebody.
Yeah.
I thought they played it beautifully.
No, I completely agree. I think, because we mentioned last week that Millie's standalone episode really proved her worth as an assistant. This episode, more than, I know a couple of other episodes did, but this really proves Ncuti as the Doctor. And I think in that one moment as well, and I tell you what something that really, and I've made a note of that as well, is when one of them uses the word, you don't want to get contaminated.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah.
And
Oh my
that
God.
just stuck like a knife. I just thought it was such a clever way they did it in Doctor Who, and the fact that, as you boys have mentioned, the fact that it's the first time that Doctor is fully taken aback by that, because it's never affected him in that way ever before.
Yeah, I thought it was, well handled by everyone, all in all. And
I
yeah,
think because of that scene, in my mind, it's going down as an all-time great, to be honest. I think it is a light, fluffy episode, like me and you were saying last week, Dan.
Yeah.
But something about that scene and the way that scene sheds light on some clever little plot details from the episode up to now, because it's not about the slug monsters. It's not about what's going on. It's about these attitudes. And sorry, Dan, just quickly, what I wanted to talk about was how, on retrospect, when you go back and you see it in screen, so like when the Doctor pops up in her little social media world at the beginning and she just immediately swipes away, she seems offended that he's managed to get through the friend system. And then also the amount of, she has the same kind of reaction to Millie Gibson in terms of hostility, but she still hears her out. She's like, why, how did you get here? But she doesn't just immediately dismiss him. And then also how I think she refers to the Doctor as stupid like multiple times. There's just like this distrust there.
Yeah.
Which I just didn't pick up on the first time. I just didn't. Didn't. But
am I right in thinking as well that when he first comes up on her screen, there's like this red alert that says unidentified something, but then when Millie pops up, it says nothing? I made that up. Was that?
No, you're right.
The other thing with this episode as well is Ncuti really isn't in this episode a lot. And apparently most of that was to do with the fact, because of his schedule, because he was so tight in with other work. Like, so there was always that potential pitfall of the fact that, again, this might be a slightly Doctor Light episode. Do you know what I mean? But again, it shows the economy of writing, where it's like, we're just going to bring it down to this.
apparently there's been some criticism that the idiots online have been saying something like, this is 2 Doctor Light episodes we've had in a row now. Usually you get 1 per series. And people are saying, why would you cast Stewie Gatlin knowing that he was so busy with sex education? And I feel like the opposite of that, because they must have seen what we saw in this final scene in the audition room, because he is like amazing. Like amazing. I think he's like incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I know we've discussed it on the podcast a few weeks ago. I can't remember the last time a Doctor, in my opinion, came out of the gate swinging this badly since like David Tennant, to be honest.
Tennant, probably.
I'm just so convinced by him. I think he does the techno babble really well. He brings new dimensions to the character. He's very believable, everything he says. I'm just like absolutely awestruck by his performance in this role.
I'd love people that did critique that choice to watch the episode, particularly the last 10 minutes, because I think that would shut them up entirely and put a new, fresh perspective of what it takes to be the Doctor in their minds as well.
I want all of the people who criticised him like that when he was announced to be eaten by those slugs.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking of
slowly.
the episode, there were 1 or 2 things that we haven't mentioned that I absolutely loved. Was the fact that when she's hidden around the corner, she had battery problems. And it was the point that, like, even after all these years, it's like, are you still telling me there's battery issues in the future? I thought that was hilarious. I just love those little bits of humour that kind of interject Doctor Who, particularly with Rusty Davis's writing. It's fantastic. And I think the one thing that we absolutely do need to mention is Lindy's mum, Penny Pepper.
Penny. Oh,
Susan
Penny.
Twist.
Penny.
Susan Twist.
Susan Twist has reappeared once again.
She seemed like someone who's waiting to me, boys. The one who waits. Every episode that passes, I'm getting more and more convinced. And I think, I want to get your thoughts on this as well, but I think this is a character we've not seen before. I don't think this is going to be a twist of someone. It's like, oh my God, reveal it's actually this person. That's what I think. It's someone new, but I think it's like going to be a new universal threat.
Right.
Tell me why I'm wrong, Mike.
Let me blow your mind. So it's been confirmed, right? She's playing somebody in the finale. Susan Twist's character is called, Susan Triad. It's very, very confusing. So Susan Twist in the finale, his character is called Susan Triad, which is an anagram. There's more letters, but it's an anagram of TARDIS.
Oh,
Is she the TARDIS? We know something's going wrong with the TARDIS, and she can appear to travel in time and space.
that's a bloody good point, actually.
Oh, what was it that, what's her name said? Anita Dobson in the Church of Ruby Road, where she said you've never seen a TARDIS before.
There's rumors because the finale, the poster that they released for it, I know we've discussed this before, is just a picture of the TARDIS with Empire of Death, and it's a picture of the TARDIS. The character's name is an anagram of TARDIS. I think there's something going on there. Anyway,
I love that if that's true, only because I want more TARDIS centric stuff, storylines, because the TARDIS is just so fucking cool. Give us more trivia, Mike.
Okay, Dan,
Hit me with your trivia stick.
Are you ready for this week's round of Catching Dan Up?
I'm
going to read out 3 things, Dan, that have potentially happened in Doctor Who since you stopped watching. All things just from the history of Doctor Who that you won't know about. One of these things is true. The other 2 things are false. Your job is to tell me what the true thing is. You got it?
This never gets old. I love it. Go for it, Mike.
Okay. Right. Dan, is this real? The Doctor is an actual doctor. They studied a medical diploma in Glasgow in 1888. Number 2, Dan, is this real? Moffat once described regeneration as like having a particularly bad acid trip. As such, in the novelization of Twice Upon a Time, which is Peter Capaldi's regeneration episode, Moffat takes the time to describe the process in a greater depth than what's broadcast on screen. So, step 1, the Doctor gradually loses sight and focus of his entire surroundings. Step 2, he hallucinates past and future events, sees companions who aren't there, and forgets which regeneration he's on. Step 3, LSS by Kasabian dominates his consciousness and bursts his eardrums. And then step 4, the final speech he ends up making in the episode about being kind or some shit. Step 5, regeneration. Write down. Did this happen? Robin Hood appears in both Series 9 and Series 11 of Doctor Who. In a funny callback, he gives Jodie Whittaker's Doctor a coin he stole from Peter Capaldi's Doctor, insinuating that 12 was rich and 13 was poor.
Talk us through your thoughts, Dan.
Okay, well, I can't imagine Stephen Moffat specifically pointing out LSF by Kasabian.
Let's go through the steps again. Step 1. This
Lost
is
souls
regeneration.
forever.
This is regeneration, according to Stephen Moffat. Step 1. The Doctor gradually loses sight and focus of his entire surroundings. Sounds pretty believable. Step 2. He hallucinates past and future events, sees companions who aren't there, and forgets which regeneration he's on. That's quite believable. Step 3. LSF, like Kasabian, dominates his consciousness and bursts his eardrums. Sounds believable. Step 4. The final speech he ends up making in the episode about being kind or some shit. And then step 5, regeneration.
Well done, Mike.
I wonder if you're keeping a straight face at that one, Mike. So I'm going to go no for option number 2.
Can I just point out at this point, fair enough, but can I just point out that every time you have got them wrong, it's because they've been a particularly bizarre and absurd one that definitely wouldn't be true, but has actually been true. Not saying that that one is true, but just to throw you off kilter.
Oh, I appreciate that. So option number 1 was the fact that
Doctor is a
an
doctor.
actual doctor, and he graduated in Glasgow in the 1800s
With a medical diploma.
with a medical diploma. And then option number 3 was the Robin Hood reference.
So Robin Hood appears twice in 2 completely different series with 2 completely different doctors. He gives Jodie Whittaker's Doctor a coin he stole from Peter Capaldi's Doctor, insinuating that 12 was rich and 13 was poor. Because Robin Hood steals from the rich and gives to the poor. And then out of nowhere, LSF by Kasabian just like blasts through the sea.
I'm gonna go with option number 3.
Robin Hood.
Can I just point out as well, twice upon a time, Mark Gatiss plays a soldier. LSF, the troops are on fire. Just point out there, all links.
But where's the polyphonic prostitute, Jerome?
I haven't got that far.
When are the motors on fire? And where is there a messiah for the animals?
It's Dan, you're gonna have to watch it.
Oh, come on. We've got our backs up against the wall. Get on and
So-
watch out before you kill us all. I'm doing spoken word now. I'm
So
going to
you-
go with option number 3, which does not relate to Kasabian in any way, nor does it relate to a Scottish doctorate degree in the same city that there so happens to be a TARDIS. I'm going to go with Robin Hood method, or Robin Hood option, Robin for the rich, given to the poor.
Mike,
Well, I can explicitly reveal that you are wrong.
Oh, fuck off.
The actual
If you dare
Actual-
say it's the Kasabian one, I swear to God.
fact this week is Moffat describes regeneration in the
piss off.
novelization.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. No. No, you've
No,
got to.
No, it's not. It's not
true,
that.
Dan. It's the Doctor, the actual
the
Doctor.
Doctor is a doctor.
Oh, right. Okay.
Specifically from, I believe it is one of Patrick Troughton's first episodes when he takes over from William Hartnell. He says in passing to Jamie, I think, that he studied to become a doctor. He's just got back from holiday, studied to become a doctor in Glasgow, and he shows him a medical diploma. So the Doctor is a doctor.
Is
There you go.
actual doctor.
I think that the
It's
university
never ever referenced again.
I think the University of Glasgow, because I actually fact checked it, because Jerome sent me this one, and I fact checked it, and yeah, the University of Glasgow has an article that they put out about it. I don't know. Wait, why is
There you go.
Oh, there you go. So the doctor is actually a qualified doctor.
There you go.
not a qualified water slide tester, or whatever we said that one time, or a qualified
Parking.
zoologist.
Park
Parking.
attendant.
He was going for
Oh,
the
very nice.
highbrow.
Right. Let's quickly just finish up with some news. Let's start with some sad news. Doctor Who legend William Russell dies, aged 99. what an age. But amazing seeing back in Jodie Whittaker's final episode. It was crazy.
Yeah. And like one of the kind of main pillars of the reason the show's so successful, one of the very first companions. And arguably if he and Caroline Ford hadn't been as good as they were, the show wouldn't have got anywhere. So yeah, massive part of the show. Very, very sad. Yeah. Hope his family are
What a
okay.
life. Didn't his reappearance in Doctor Who break a record about the longest time in between appearances in like a TV show or something?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Life. That's amazing. The final bit of news. So the new episode, Tales of the TARDIS, will premiere in the UK just before the season finale of Doctor Who on June 20th. And there has been rumored, why would they do that? So we know that Tales of the TARDIS, so there's been rumors now that basically Russell T. Davis came up with this idea of the memory TARDIS for the finale of this season. And then because of that, branched out into a full spin-off that they've timey-wimey aired before the actual series itself. So I think we're going to have answers about what the memory TARDIS is in this final episode. But yeah, they're releasing a surprise new episode of Tales of the TARDIS before the finale. And I wonder if it involves Susan.
Maybe.
Because she was noticeably absent from that first series of Tales of the TARDIS, right? It's all about past doctors and past companions. And they didn't have the first ever, companion there.
I wonder, I wonder if there's something, because obviously like the TARDIS is, and he refers to it in this episode, doesn't he? It's like a magic box. Oh no, one of the group references to it is like, I'm not going with you in your magic box. And I'm wondering whether they're playing around with the sci-fi element of that. Like, you've got this time machine and you've got this place that can take you anywhere. As Dan zoomed in on the screen.
Your camera zooms in automatically.
Through diamonds, right?
That stage.
But it was, I wonder if they're going to make it more like a fantasy vehicle. Do you know what I mean? And then it's just capable, like maybe it can sort of be in multiple places at once and even be people, or it has like a soul. And they've kind of explored that in The Doctor's Wife, haven't they? And yeah, interesting. I hope so. I hope it's to do with the TARDIS because
I prefer my TARDIS episode. I prefer the TARDIS as just being like this like sci-fi machine that travels through time and space. Having said that, The Doctor's Wife is an incredible episode, but the journey to the center of the TARDIS I felt was dog shit. So yeah, I quite like the idea of the TARDIS just being honest, but yeah, we shall see. But yeah, that's quite interesting that they've done that. They've got like a surprise new episode, so it'll obviously tie in certain ways. And I think we're probably going to see Susan, to be honest. I think obviously they set it up in Devil's Core, didn't they? Quite heavily.
And they there was a big reference in this episode as well, where it was like, we've seen, like they took air and they took space to like go, who is that? Do you know what I mean? And then go back to the episode, but it wasn't just like by mistake. It was like, it's definitely something's cooking.
Who wants to land this plane?
Thank you very much for watching and for listening. Feel free to follow us at Who Doesn't Pod on all the socials. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, everybody, for another week.
Say goodbye to Mummy Twist.
Goodbye from Mummy Twist, everyone.
And goodbye from me. We'll see you next week with our response to Rogue.
Watch out for those slug monsters. Get your face up from your phones.
Live in the real world.
If you like this YouTube video, please consider liking,
sharing,
and subscribing.